Hello everybody, Buddy Webb, Midland, Texas. Today's video is started with a comment on YouTube from a guy named Bryan, and he was asking some questions here. But one thing he said they make a derringer style gun that shoots a 410 shotgun shells. They might have used one of these to shoot you, God bless. Okay, and so I decided to create a video called "The Shooter's Gun" and go over the evidence that's been found, which has led me to believe what type of gun I was shot with. And so that's what this video is. I have a Facebook post where I laid it out like I always do. I have a little story, broke it up in paragraphs, and then I back that up with the evidence files. And that way, I think it's easy to follow so everybody can see what I'm saying. And that's kind of how we're going to approach this. This is one of the memes that I've created in the past. It is full of information. It's showing a picture of a Glazer safety slug here. It's a special plastic tip, pellet-filled bullet. That's actually what I believe I was shot with. And I'm going to show you more about that here in a minute. We're going to look at that again here in a minute. So let me get started on my YouTube channel here. Okay, I think this is important. This comment came in on the video I made yesterday called "What Happened?" Okay, and basically what happened was a follow-up. Under a tunnel found under Midland home. You see that video 1 week ago, 7.7 thousand views, went viral. It's one of my top 20 out of 1,000 videos. It made the top 20 in 1 week. And it's a picture, it's a video of a home here on Pecos Street in Midland, Texas, where this guy found this man-made tunnel underneath this home. I'll just show you just a short clip of that right there. And that's where we're looking down in that hole. That's man-made.
Concrete slab of his home.
Yeah, and I believe that's what's here, and I believe that's in many other homes around here. And and so that's, that was a big video. I followed it up with what happened, and basically in this video, what I'm pointing out in this video, I said if proof shows I wasn't shot with my gun, then we know I was shot with another gun. That means somebody under my home shot me, and with multiple people saying that tunnels and underground homes are here, we know the shot came from under that cabinet. I mean, that's what that video means. And then of course, Bryan, he commented about what type of gun I was shot with, and that's what this video is about: the shooter's gun. Okay, so I got several paragraphs here. I answered that. I posted that. That's that I replied to Bryan, and then I went down here into the comments. I just copied and pasted it, and then I backed it up with little evidence files, and so y'all can follow this. And that's where we're going to start. I said what type of gun that I shot with is an important question, and here's some facts concerning this. The entrance and exit wounds were 2 inches above ground level, which means the shooter was standing below ground level and waiting for me to walk by when they pulled the trigger. And with multiple people saying that tunnels and underground homes are here, along with supporting evidence such as Google Maps and proof that I wasn't shot with my gun, then we know this to be true. Okay, and so here's the first picture I did. This is the original picture of the room from where I shot. This tiny utility room has my washer and dryer in there, has that little cabinet, and I was pointing out his cabinet when I bought this house was never put together right. The door was gone, shelves were gone, the kickboard was gone. But it was as is. How would I know? And nobody would suspect that hid a hidden trapdoor entrance into my house under that cabinet. And that's where the evidence shows the shot come from. See, I'm pointing the arrow down here on the bottom. I'm also showing the entrance and exit wounds. That tells you that the shooter's gun was level with the ground. Okay, so the gun didn't go up. A lot of people have misunderstood that and thought that the direction of the shot was up. It's not. The direction of shot is level with the ground. They were standing below ground, waiting for me to walk by and pulled the trigger. Okay, and here you can see this kickboard was missing over here. The door was gone, etc. Okay. And as I said, multiple people, documented saying tunnels, underground homes are here, along with Google Maps, etc. So Ricky Ronaldo told me that him and his brother used to go in the tunnels under his home. Law enforcement could talk to Ricky, find out where it is. And, here in this picture, what I'm pointing out is here's the Home Depot store. Here's my home, right? Here's where it's believed the underground home in the backyard is. And you can tell where the ground was cut from Home Depot coming directly towards my house. I believe the people going to the oil show parties, which was here, were using a tunnel that was there, okay? And Ricky said, when me and my brother used to live in that house, we used to go in the tunnels under your house, okay? And so that was just one person. That's what I'm saying. Multiple people documented saying tunnels and underground homes are here. Okay. And then the next map that I show quite often is the one that it is just a proof map of these underground homes. And what I'm showing here, if you go to Google Maps and you look up my address, on the block screen you'll see a large building in the backyard that you can't see from above ground. That's what I'm pointing out. That would be over here. That's where I believe the oil show parties were at in 2010. I believe that's where that young girl was murdered at. Angie told me about 2010. And the previous homeowner died the week before the 2008 oil show started. Okay. And I'm showing some other stuff. There's a ditch and all that. But I just wanted to show you that. Multiple people documenting. Also here, I'll pull that up again. Here's this phone call. I secretly recorded a guy running for sheriff. Joe Lozano told me that our last sheriff, Gary Painter, used to hang out in the underground homes here. There's just this ton of proofs here saying that there's underground homes. One woman said she worked on this project. It was finished 1987 at a budget of $7.35 million. She gave me the name of the company that she worked for. Said it was called the Safe House Project. It's put in for George H.W. Bush from Midland, Texas. He was then vice president and from Midland. Okay, so we got that part, and that was that first paragraph. So I was shot from a now removed trapdoor that the ex-wife had already told me about, and from where Lieutenant Dickie had entered my home at 11:05. I believe it's also the same entry that was used by Matt Hyman and his friends 2 weeks earlier, when it's believed he got electrocuted while trying to come into my bedroom. That trapdoor was hidden under the cabinet in my tiny utility room, which was missing a door, a shelf, and a kickboard. Now removed. I believe it was covered up while I was in the hospital. Okay. So the first one is here, Lieutenant Dickie. The police report for the night of the murder attempt was subpoenaed in 2013, but it was illegally withheld by the police, and I didn't know it existed. And I didn't even find that out until 2019, okay? And when I finally got a copy of it, I figured out why they were hiding the police report for me, because it timestamped police inside my home that wasn't seen arriving. Because my security cameras saw Martin County Sheriff John Woodward and Midland County late Midland County Sheriff Deputy Mike Naylor arriving 19 minutes after I crawled out, when they were not dispatched, okay? And it took 6 years to get them identified. They were identified by a private investigator. But my security camera saw them, but it didn't see Dickie. And Dickie was inside my home 4 minutes later. And the police report shows I had extra locks on my doors because of the crimes I had been reporting to the police. And so that's how I knew that Dickie entered from the now removed trapdoor that I shot from. Maybe Dickie was the shooter, aka would-be killer, or one of his friends. Obviously, he was involved in covering up this premeditated capital attempted murder. Okay, obviously. But there it is right there. It says, inside the house. Well, how'd you get inside the house, Dickie? Big question there. How'd you get in the house if you wasn't seen arriving like Woodward and Naylor were? Okay, and it's real obvious he came in from the now removed trapdoor. Okay. And then the other thing, I believe that trapdoor entrance was the same trapdoor entrance that Matt Hyman and his friends had entered 2 weeks earlier, when it's suspected that Matt had got electrocuted trying to come into my bedroom. I recognized there was a home invasion, put a live electricity on my doorknob, built me a safe room because I was worried they were going to kill me like I believe they did to the last homeowner. And then after I survived the murder attempt, I went and looked up the obituaries, and I found where this young 33-year-old landman attorney died, and I've suspected that he died in my house. And then 2 of his friends threatened me. Okay, so there's a whole video stories about this Matt Hyman right here. Okay, and then one of his friends, Bryan Hillman, threatened me multiple times, even recently threatened me, desperate to stop me from asking questions. He was a landman. I suspect a landman being connected to the underground oil show parties. That just makes sense. He was also an attorney for Cotton Martin Bledsoe Town Dawson, which is the city's attorney. That's interesting, I think. And, and then here's the sister-in-law here, Natalie Hyman. And, he died of a genetic heart defect nobody knew he had, And I said, was he messing with electricity that day? Because I put electricity on my doorknob and he died of a surprise heart failure. No. Well, electricity stops the heart, And what I really believe happened was, he grabbed that doorknob, he got electrocuted, and his friends saw him, and they didn't expect that, And then he died, and then, instead of calling 911 and trying to save their friend's life, they chose to let their friend die. That's what I believe happened, But if they had called, then they would have been arrested because, this was a felony. They were in a private home. They were breaking into a private home. They would have gone to prison for many years. But it looks like his friend, Matt Hyman's friends, let Matt die in my hallway. Okay. So, but the whole point of this is all my doors were secured that day. And so I believe that, whoever is in my house trying to come in, who I believe was Matt and his friends, came in from that same trapdoor entrance. Okay. Here's the next comment. As seen, my utility room is a small room, and there just wasn't enough physical room for me to be shot with my 4-foot-long 12-gauge shotgun from where I was standing, as falsely claimed by the corrupt police. However, MPD Detective Rosie Rodriguez testified in court that she found a tripwire on my gun, but there's no tripwire in evidence. None of the other 10 police mentioned a tripwire, which included CSI Marty Barrett that wrote on a police report that he picked up my gun, and multiple proofs showing that I wasn't shot with my gun, such as the size of pellets, no empty shotgun shell found in my gun by the CSI, etc. It's clear that Detective Rosie Rodriguez, who come to find out was the lifelong friend of the ex-wife, lied about this tripwire. Okay, so she testified this in court. Rosie Rodriguez testified on November 18th. That's what I call felony perjury. Okay, right there, and really, it's connected to a premeditated capital attempted murder. For-profit capital attempted murder. And here she was talking. There was a tripwire went across from one room to the other room. It's a whole lie. I mean, I was totally caught off guard. I'm just so surprised. Here's a cop, And as I said before, this cop, Rosie Rodriguez, met me at the 7-Eleven after I crawled out and then said she wasn't even there, All right. Here's one next proof. No empty shotgun shell found by the CSI. Okay. So this is CSI. Everybody watches that show, Crime Scene Investigator. They are the experts in evidence, right? Or supposedly, right? Unless they're faking it and covering up murders. And, so this guy's named Tony Barrett, okay, or Marty, okay? And here approximately this time or whatever, he's writing, I received evidence from Officer Chandler that included a pistol. I then proceeded 3002 Fair Circle to process the crime scene. I photographed the scene with a digital camera. I collected evidence from the scene that included a shotgun. No mention of a tripwire. Okay, and he checked in almost all of the evidence because that's his job. And he didn't check in no tripwire. Okay, there was no tripwire in my gun. I wasn't shot with my gun. Okay, what I did make a point here because I found it. He checked in 4 live shells that came from my gun. It was a pump shotgun. It was loaded with live shells. But he didn't check in an empty shell. And that was the point I was making. If I had been shot with my gun, as those corrupt police said I was, there would have been an empty shotgun shell in that gun. And Marty Barrett would have had to check it in. He would have had to get it out before he could even got to them live shells. It would have been there in the chamber. Okay, and so there was more proof that I wasn't shot with my gun. Once again, if I ain't shot with my gun, I'm shot with another gun. That makes this a capital attempted murder, right? That means we got some killers running around and we got some extremely dirty cops here that probably been involved in a whole bunch of murders, okay? Somebody scribbled out a piece of evidence on the evidence logs and hand wrote in empty shotgun shells after I made a point of there being no empty shotgun shells in the evidence, okay? I'm going to show you this. I didn't get this updated evidence log until 2019. Okay, now keep that in mind. I'm shot in 2012. Okay, so I was making a point on Facebook that hey, there's no empty shotgun shell, just like I showed you. Okay, well they go, oh, there's no empty. Oh, we'll fix that. We'll just scribble this one out and write it in with our hands. That's how dirty these cops are. No problem there. We'll just scribble it out 2 years later and write it in. And that's exactly what what they did, And let's say Matt Davis, too. And you know what's interesting about Matt Davis? He's the guy on YouTube that wrote me that said, buddy, I stole the evidence and nobody's going to find out. I got a print screen showing that Matt Davis said that. And then it looks like right after he did this, which I believe this happened right before the protective order hearing, that right after this happened, he quit the police department with 12 years. He didn't retire. He quit. And I got a feeling maybe his supervisors asked him to quit when they figured out he was involved in a premeditated for-profit capital attempted murder. Okay. Next one. A woman named Lisa Rogers told me that I was shot with a .45 handgun. It's unknown how she knew this, but I wondered if one of her sons were here when I shot. That's important because the police says I was shot with a 12-gauge shotgun. My 12-gauge. Okay. The Taurus judge shoots both the .410 and the .45, but the surgeon stated that he removed a large amount of plastic from the wound, which wouldn't be found if I'd been shot with a standard shotgun shell as a .410. A standard shotgun shell is a 12-gauge or .410, does have a plastic wadding, but that is a one-piece cup that follows the pellets out, and the ER doctor stated on the ER report that he found and removed this before surgery. That's very important. Okay, so I'm going to show you back up what I just said here. Okay, this was print screen from Lisa Rogers. Okay, now it's unknown how Lisa Rogers knows specifically what type of gun I'm shot with, but she told me I was shot with a .45, and I believe that to be true. I've wondered if her son, or she had a son, was here when I was shot under my home, But law enforcement, real law enforcement, the kind not involved in for-profit murders of homeowners, could talk to Lisa Rogers and find that out. Okay. I did a picture here and I said the Taurus judge, and that's what this started with, that comment on YouTube where the guy says, maybe you're shot with a .410 because it's a smaller shotgun shell. And I was, and it'll fire from a handgun because there wasn't enough physical room in that little bitty tiny room to be shot with a 4-foot long shotgun, So I'm showing a picture of the judge here and it shoots both the .45 and a .410, okay? And I thought about that. I mean, that was reasonable, But now, because of the plastic, because the doctor's saying he removed a lot of plastic, I think I was shot with this Glazer safety slug, which can also be fired from a .45. This has led me to believe that I shot with a .45 handgun that was loaded with a Glazer safety slug, which is a plastic tip, pellet-filled bullet. Interestingly, the size of pellets from the Glazer safety slug does match the size of pellets removed from my foot. One of the proofs that I showed that I wasn't shot my gun, I had one remaining shell that I found that had got had overlooked in my house. See, the police had stolen my shotgun shells because they knew it was proof that I wasn't shot with my gun, but they had overlooked one shell, this shell right here, okay? And this shell told what size pellets were in my gun, and the lab report shows what size pellets were removed from my foot, and I'm going, they're 2.5 sizes difference. That's like saying the guy with the .22 didn't shoot the guy that has a hole in him from a .45, okay? That's what it is. It's ballistic evidence proven, one more piece of ballistic evidence proven I wasn't shot with my gun. But what is interesting is the size of pellets removed from my foot does match the size of pellets that are in this Glazer safety slug. Okay, that's what I've done, and I'm also showing this bullet here is a plastic tip bullet, and that explains why the surgeon said he removed a large amount of plastic from the wound, because I was shot with this special plastic tip pellet-filled bullet to make it appear that I was shot with a shotgun. Okay, the ER doctor said he removed a large amount of plastic from the wound. Now I'm going to show you that, okay? Here, once again, there's a picture of the Glazer safety slug, and this is right from the operative report. There was a large amount of plastic lead pellet debris, okay? Well, I know people that are trying to cover up these murders, right? They're going, oh, wait, I got an idea. The shotgun shell has a piece of plastic in it. They're grasping for straws so they can kill people in their homes, And then I come back and I go, well, the ER doctor says right here, my brother-in-law I didn't know about, he removed the plastic wad from the room from the emergency room. Okay, so the emergency room before surgery. So the plastic wadding was removed before surgery. Now I'm going to show you here. Here is how a standard shotgun shell, .410 or 12 gauge, is built. And what I'm saying here is that the wadding here holds it's a cup that holds the pellets, okay? So the powder is behind it. There's the plastic wadding and the pellets. So when it goes into your body, into me, in the side of my foot, the pellets hit first, and it's followed by the cup. So that cup, one-piece plastic cup, is found on the outside of the wound, basically. It's right there on the end, okay? And so that's what the ER doctor found at the emergency room and removed. It's a one piece of plastic wadding, okay? So I wasn't, so that wasn't where the plastic came from. I didn't put it in there, but I've also seen pictures that when somebody's shot with this laser safety slug, it gives it a powdery look. I've seen them in the x-rays, and I noticed in my x-rays they had that powdery look, but I didn't put that in here. But it's real clear to me. I think, I was shot with a handgun loaded with a laser safety slug. Okay. And so then I believe they shot me with this special bullet to make it appear that I've been shot with my shotgun. This would stop an investigation into capital murder, and it would also add an additional $500,000 to the life insurance payout because I was paying extra money for an accidental death policy. My murder was clearly planned in advance, okay? The ex-wife had taken my life insurance books from my home when we separated a few weeks earlier, so she would have known this. She returned those books about a week before the murder attempt, but my sister-in-law, Mitzi Webb, told me she saw them while they were gone from my home. So law enforcement could talk to Mitzi because Mitzi told me she saw them life insurance. And that's in case the ex-wife denies taking them life insurance books, because there's your backup proof going, no, you did take them life insurance books. And here's a copy of it that shows right here as accidental death. Basic accidental death and dismemberment, 2 times annual base pay, and then supplemental accidental death, $250,000. What that means is if the lifelong friend of the ex-wife, Rosie Rodriguez, rules my murder an accident, and she was the one that closed my case and ruled this failed murder an accident, if she would have ruled my murder an accident, then her lifelong friend was going to get an extra $250,000 and an extra 2 times annual base pay, which is about another $200,000. We're talking an extra $500,000 for Rosie ruling this failed murder, or ruling this murder an accident. Of course, I didn't die, so it's not a murder. It's a failed murder. And it was in the protective order here 2 years later when, by surprise, that we found out that the detective Rosie Rodriguez was the lifelong friend of the ex-wife. They had gone to junior high and elementary school together, and they had been in contact during that time without my knowledge. I had no idea. And as I said, when I got to 7-Eleven, Rosie climbed into my truck. I had no idea she was the lifelong friend of the ex-wife that I had filed divorce on 5 days earlier. The former boyfriend of the ex-wife, Arthur Welch, posted on his Facebook that he overheard my ex-wife planning my murder with her police friends to steal life insurance, okay? And he posted this on his Facebook. A subpoena could show that or whatever. I got a print screen of it, And Arthur wasn't writing to me. He was writing to the public. He said, cops were recorded hiding evidence and laughing about this man being shot. He's talking about me. I was dating this guy's ex-wife when I overheard her talking. And from the things I heard, she had tried to have him killed for insurance money, and to hear how many police were involved. One, her longtime personal friend. I won't let Buddy Webb be laughed at. Her final words were to me, I will have you shot too. And this was posted on June 28, 2020, if we happen to have any legitimate law enforcement out there. Okay. This was read in court at the protective order hearing in 2013. And basically, Arthur had contacted me about 8 months after the murder attempt. I didn't know this man. And he says, do you think that the ex-wife had anything to do with the shooting? Okay. I dated her for a short time here in Lubbock, and she threatened to have me killed. Okay. So this was in 2012. The other one I read you was in 2020. His story has never changed in 8 years. And, and I wrote back and I said, I think she was in Lubbock at the time. God's answer said, okay. Arthur writes back and says, well, I think she had a lot to do with it from the things she said, and I so will never trust her. Okay. So that was the first message that he sent me in 2012. Okay. And that was actually read at the protective order hearing. And And then it was brought up in the protective order here, and the ex-wife confirmed in court that she was dating Arthur Welch, okay? Because we read that in court. My attorney submitted that as evidence. Did you date a man named Arthur Welch? And this is the ex-wife. Yes, shortly. And then my lawyer asked her, is he psychotic too? Is everybody psychotic? Is that what you do? And keep in mind, what wasn't read in that court case is that the ex-wife was recorded on tape threatening me with an extortion threat. If I didn't pay her around $1,800 a month, she was going to tell everybody I was crazy. And I have that recording. That's a YouTube video called Follow the Money. And I didn't know her lifelong friend was Rosie Rodriguez, and they both got into court and both called me delusional in court that day, fulfilled the extortion threat because I didn't pay the extortion money. I had survived the murder attempt. The ex-wife told me that after I survived the murder attempt, the ex-wife told me that the ER doctor was my brother-in-law, was her brother-in-law, which is something I didn't know before. She had already told me the secret is that a group of doctors are killing people for profit, but she didn't say which doctors. So I've long suspected that group of doctors was connected with the $1 million underground homes. It's probably connected to human trafficking, maybe illegal casinos, etc. A money maker or whatever. I think them doctors were connected to that. And I don't think she was just talking about shoddy medical. I think they're literally planning and killing people. Okay, but anyway, we can ask her those questions. I testified to this in court at the protective order hearing. I said, she said the secret is a group of doctors are killing people for profit. I told the FBI that. I told DHS that. I told the sheriff that. I told the Texas Rangers that. But what she didn't tell me was her brother-in-law was my doctor, and that was when X-rays were faked. Okay. I also found that brother-in-law of hers, the ER doctor, who was there when the X-rays were faked, owned the same home as the builders of my home. Okay, now that's kind of interesting, right? Here, what I'm doing, I was doing research on the past owners of my home. Because obviously somebody that lived here or used to own this home or somebody used to live in this small cul-de-sac of 9 homes knows something about $1 million underground homes, tunnels, and multiple murders, obviously, right? So I went all the way back to the builder. Company not in business no more, named Tabor Construction. Okay, Tabor Construction had a listed business address at 3217 Mark Lane. I just happened to look up the 3217 Mark Lane. It's a home near me. And this home, the deed history, and to my great surprise, I find out where my ER doctor owned the same home as the builders of my home. That made me wonder if that ER doctor knew about this home being rigged with underground access, with the underground homes to be used for burglary, theft, and murders. There's there's more to this. There was a vice president here, Aaron Gobble. That's what I'm showing. He died on the famous Clayton Williams plane crash in 1990. He's a vice president of Tabor Construction. Okay, the next one, the ER doctor, my brother-in-law that I didn't know about, stated on the emergency room report, a through-and-through gunshot wound that appears to be from a shotgun blast. Okay, and that's what I saw. When I got to the hospital, I had 2 small holes in my foot, one on the side, one in the back. Now, the one in the back was slightly larger. It was the exit one. This unusual wording has made me question if this doctor knew that I had been shot with a special bullet to make it appear that it came from a shotgun. That's what I was making a point of, was this odd wording by the emergency room doctor, the brother-in-law I didn't know about. He says exhibits a through-and gunshot wound which appears to have been from a shotgun blast. Well, and I thought about that. I thought, why wouldn't you just assume that? I assumed it. Most people would assume I was shot with a shotgun. That was the assumption. Took forever to figure it out. I'm shot with a .45 handgun loaded with a special bullet to make it appear that I'm shot with a shotgun. That's what happened, But I think this doctor might have known, and that's why he used this odd wording. Also, I wanted to point out this dirty cop, Detective Rosie Rodriguez, lifelong friend of the ex-wife. She has a whole different story, but he did not have a right heel. See, and notice the difference there, okay? Because the ER doctor says I had a through-and-through gunshot wound. I say I had 2 holes in my foot. I did, because I saw it myself. But the Detective Rosie Rodriguez says the heel was blown off. And I think she knew that they were going to cut off my heel. I have a feeling Rosie Rodriguez knew they were going to fake them x-rays with a guy that was missing his heel bone and then take me into surgery and cut my heel bone off, It's now proven that my x-rays were faked on that night, and I suspect that they may have been done by Dr. Hinton, who I believe to have been working out of the same office as the brother-in-law ER doctor. I guess they were friends and business partners. Okay? I got multiple proofs showing that the x-rays were faked, and this is really, another side story that's important, though. And it is connected to this because it's connected to the ER doctor, okay? This is the ER report. And here's what I found on the ER report here is that the ER doctor, my brother-in-law that I didn't know about, he orders 3 x-rays, okay? And it's timestamped there, okay? And then all of a sudden, the secret lab tech named user in interface cancels the doctor's orders. Says, stop what the doctor said. Stop it. And he reorders 2 x-rays. Now that seems real odd, doesn't it? Okay. That you got a secret lab tech named user interface, canceled the doctor's orders for 3 x-rays, and then comes back and orders 2 x-rays. And then the timestamp on the x-rays shows they were timestamped before they were even ordered by the ER doctor. I believe that the ER tech, the secret ER tech user interface, was already in the process of faking my x-rays. They took the x-rays of somebody else that had been shot in the same foot with the shotgun and put my name on it. They did that because that person had been shot with a shotgun and I hadn't been. That person was missing their heel bone. So then they took me into surgery and they cut my heel bone off to match the faked x-rays. So I was intentionally maimed, mutilated, crippled for life on purpose to cover up this failed for-profit murder that would have made the sister-in-law of the doctor rich. Now keep in mind, she was the one that told me there's a group of doctors killing people for profit. Okay? Here's the second proof I found is this x-rays. Okay? This x-ray on the left is an x-ray from 4 months prior to the murder attempt. And it just shows you my heel bone. Okay, this is the calcaneus heel bone right here. That's what it looks like. And I'm using it for comparison. Because 4 months later, this x-ray has my name on it and it's timestamped before surgery and the heel bone's gone. See, heel bone's missing. You notice the heel bone is missing. Okay, just like Rosie Rodriguez said, heel bone's missing, right? But I hadn't had surgery yet. And as I said, when I got to the hospital, I had 2 small holes in my foot, and which was confirmed by the ER doctor. They took me into surgery and they cut off my heel bone to match the faked x-rays. Okay, there's more proofs to the faking of the x-rays, but I just wanted to show you them too right there. I wondered if Dr. Hinton, who was a radiologist, was the secret user in interface. Okay. So I'm going to wrap that up right there. I think it's real clear. It should be very extremely clear, showing that I wasn't shot with my gun. And proof showing I wasn't shot with my gun means I was shot with another gun, means somebody loaded their gun, came to my home to murder me. Period. That's all there is to it. And to buy a special bullet, that takes premeditation. These are scary, scary killers. And this Buddy Webb, Midland, Texas.